The world is not built on fairness. No matter how pure your intentions are, betrayal will eventually knock at your door. No matter how excellent your abilities, someone far less capable may still take what you've earned. This is not cynicism, it's reality. Those who see the world clearly survive. Those who survive lead. And those who lead quietly shape everything around them. This power isn't loud or visible, but its presence is undeniable. It is a subtle force, a hidden current, what I call dark intelligence. Dark intelligence is not something you're born with. It emerges when life wounds you. When you're lied to, humiliated, undermined, or rejected, you either break down or you build yourself into someone stronger than before. Most collapse under the weight of disappointment, but the few who use pain as raw material develop a sharp, patient, and deliberate kind of intelligence. It observes, listens, calculates, and moves only when the timing is perfect. While others lose themselves in shouting matches, you're collecting facts. While others react emotionally, you're designing your next move. While they're consumed by frustration, you're quietly drawing your map of the future. Most people play checkers, thinking only a move ahead. You're about to learn how to play chess, where every piece, every move, and every pause is strategic. Before we go further, let me be absolutely clear. The knowledge you're about to gain is a form of defense, not destruction. It's meant to protect you from exploitation, not to harm innocent people. The goal here isn't to create villains, but to help you stop being a victim. Today, we're unlocking the psychological traits that separate those who thrive from those who merely survive, leaders from followers, and winners from perpetual losers. First, I want you to write this in the comments as a declaration. I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally reactive. Because what follows is not just information, it's a mindset. These are the principles powerful people live by but rarely talk about. 1. Strategic ambiguity. Never reveal your entire hand. Powerful individuals are not fully transparent about their plans or motives. They share only what's necessary and allow the rest to remain in shadow. When people have only fragments of your story, their imagination does the work for you, and that imagination is a powerful form of influence. Niccolo Machiavelli once wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you really are." Think about the most intriguing people you've ever met. They rarely give you full answers. They leave small gaps in their narratives. They respond to questions with other questions. They offer a slight smile where you expect an explanation. This isn't dishonesty, it's precision in communication. Most people overshare out of habit. They think being open equals building trust. In reality, every extra detail you give away is a small surrender of your power. Mystery breeds curiosity. Curiosity breeds attention, and attention turns into respect. Let's say someone asks you what you're doing this weekend. The average person says, "Oh, nothing much, probably just staying in." That's total transparency and instantly forgettable. Instead, you might say, "I've got some important matters to handle," and shift the topic. Notice how your answer becomes more intriguing. Strategic ambiguity doesn't mean lying or being rude. It means being selective about what you share, when you share it, and how much you reveal. The best leaders, entrepreneurs, and thinkers all master this. They treat their information like currency. They never spend it all at once. When your words are rare, they carry more weight. 2. Adaptive identity. You are not the same version of yourself in every room, and that's not hypocrisy, it's intelligence. Smart people don't approach everyone the same way. They adjust their communication, tone, and energy based on the person in front of them. People think they know you, but they're only meeting one facet of your character. Machiavelli advised that a ruler should appear merciful, upright, humane, and devout to those who watch him, regardless of what he truly thinks. This doesn't mean being fake. It means being effective. You already practice this instinctively. You speak differently to a child than to your boss, differently at a funeral than at a celebration. Adaptive identity takes that natural skill and makes it deliberate. Every person processes reality differently. Some people want data, some want stories, some want empathy, some want vision. Using the same style with everyone is like trying to open every lock with the same key. You'll only succeed with a few. Smart people study the person across from them and tailor their message accordingly. Think of water. It fills any container it's poured into, but it never stops being water. It adapts without losing its essence. That's what your personality should be: flexible in form, solid in principle. Authenticity doesn't mean showing the exact same side of yourself to every person. It means being real while presenting the side of you that connects most effectively with them. This ability makes you magnetic. People feel understood. They start to trust you. And in negotiations, leadership, and influence, that's priceless. The warning is simple. Never adapt so much that you lose yourself. Your values, your integrity, your moral compass must remain unshaken. Only your presentation should shift. The strongest people are like a diamond, many facets, but still one unbreakable core. 3. The power of detachment. No relationship, object, or opinion should own you. Whatever you're terrified to lose controls you. Whatever you're willing to walk away from cannot be used to manipulate you. Detachment is the most misunderstood element of dark intelligence. People think it means being cold or heartless. It's actually about freedom. Most people are enslaved by their attachments. They tolerate abusive bosses because they fear losing their paycheck. They compromise their values to keep a relationship. They hide their opinions to win approval. Fear of loss makes you weak. Freedom from that fear makes you unshakable. Imagine two people in a negotiation. One desperately needs the deal. They've already planned their life around it happening. The other would like the deal, but has other options and can walk away. Who has more power? The one who's free. Detachment creates clarity. It allows you to see reality without the fog of desperation. This doesn't mean you shouldn't care about people or goals. It means you shouldn't be dependent on them for your sense of worth or stability. The paradox of detachment is that the less you need something, the more you attract it. Confident people aren't confident because life always bends to their will. They're confident because they know they'll survive even if it doesn't. Practice this gradually. Start with small things. Stop trying to win every argument. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. Stop gripping your plans so tightly that a single change ruins your day. Over time, people will sense that you're not easily controlled, and that commands respect. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring from a place of strength, not weakness. 4. Quiet influence. Real power rarely announces itself. It doesn't need to. Most think dominance is loud, raising your voice, issuing commands, demanding compliance. That's amateur power. Real influence is quiet. It moves like gravity, silent, invisible, but impossible to resist. Machiavelli wrote, "Nothing great is ever achieved without risk." But power doesn't always mean taking big, visible risks. Silent influence is the art of arranging the board so that people willingly move in ways that benefit you. Instead of barking orders, you create circumstances where they choose to act in your interest. Instead of demanding respect, you make yourself indispensable so people give it voluntarily. In conversation, this looks like mastering silence. Most people are uncomfortable with it and rush to fill it with words, often revealing more than they intend. When you pause before answering, You control the tempo of the exchange. Your words gain weight because they're not thrown out carelessly. In negotiation, silent influence means having alternatives. You don't even have to mention them. Your confidence signals that you're not dependent on the other side's offer. This shifts the power dynamic without a single threat. In relationships and workplaces, silent influence means being the one who quietly adds value, solves problems, and delivers results without begging for recognition. Over time, people start coming to you first. They trust you without knowing why. They follow you without you asking them to. Silent influence is a long game. You plant seeds now and harvest results later. It demands patience and discipline, but when mastered, it turns you into the invisible architect of outcomes. You become the force shaping the room rather than reacting to it. And like everything in this playbook, ethics matter. This isn't about manipulating others into harm. The true goal is to create win-win dynamics where your influence also benefits them. When people feel uplifted, not exploited, your power becomes self-sustaining. Dark intelligence isn't a gimmick. It's a mindset shift, a transition from reacting to controlling, from being predictable to being strategic, from being a pawn to being a player. These principles, strategic ambiguity, adaptive identity, detachment, and quiet influence, aren't tricks. They're disciplines. Practice them, and you stop being the person life happens to, and you become the person who shapes what happens next. Say it again to yourself. I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally reactive. That is your entry point into a world most people never even notice, a world where you're not just surviving the game, but rewriting the rules as you play. The highest and most responsible way to use quiet influence is to steer others toward decisions that uplift both them and the people around them. This isn't about manipulating or deceiving. It's about becoming a subtle guide, pointing people in directions that serve their best interests as well as the greater good. Silent power is not passivity. It's not about sitting back and doing nothing. You're still moving the pieces, still taking deliberate steps, but you're doing so with tact and patience instead of noise and spectacle. 5. The mirror effect. This brings us to the next skill, the psychological mirror. This principle is about reflecting someone's inner world back to them, their concerns, their dreams, their hidden fears so effectively that they feel you're speaking their language. In reality, you're not mimicking, you're decoding. You're gaining deep insight and positioning yourself as someone they instinctively trust. Machiavelli once observed that people judge more with their eyes than with their hands, meaning they're swayed by what they see and perceive, not necessarily by the full reality. Everyone can see appearances, but very few truly feel what's behind them. The psychological mirror leverages this truth. You're not presenting a false image. You're showing people what they already want to see and hear, filtered through empathy and understanding. Most individuals focus only on their own message. They're so eager to talk that they miss what the other person is actually communicating. But people don't buy products, services, or even ideas. They buy relief from their frustrations and fulfillment of their desires. When you can accurately reflect their hidden needs, you become essential to them. To master this, you must first become a careful student of human nature. Every person you meet carries invisible weight, disappointments, hopes, doubts. They might talk about their work, but between the lines they're telling you who they think they are, what matters to them, and what they fear losing. They might describe their relationships, but behind their words lie emotional patterns, unmet needs, and silent expectations. Most people listen to reply. You must listen to decode. Here's a simple framework. Underneath every interaction, people are silently asking 3 questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? If you can answer all three with your actions and words, even without saying the words directly, you form a connection that feels almost magnetic. The psychological mirror technique involves echoing not just someone's words but their meaning. You listen for the feeling behind the sentence, the desire behind the frustration, the vulnerability behind the anger. For instance, someone might say, "I'm sick of my job." The obvious response is to suggest they look for a new position. But if you listen deeper, you might realize they feel overlooked, unchallenged, or anxious about the future. A reflective response might be, "It sounds like you're craving a place where your work is recognized and where you can grow." Notice how different that feels. You're not offering generic advice. You're demonstrating that you get them. This creates trust. When you reflect someone's experience accurately, but in a more constructive frame, they feel understood. And once someone feels you truly see them, your influence grows exponentially. The key is to highlight the positive dimension of what they're expressing. If someone complains about being overwhelmed, reflect their dedication and high standards. If they're frustrated, reflect their passion for excellence. Once you understand someone's core values and fears, you can align your suggestions, ideas, and requests with their personal compass. Someone who treasures security will respond to proposals framed around stability and safety. Someone who longs for recognition will lean toward opportunities framed around achievement and status. Someone who craves independence will light up when you speak in terms of autonomy and choice. You're not altering your fundamental message. You're adjusting the way you present it to resonate with their psychological profile. This skill is transformative in leadership, negotiations, sales, parenting, and friendships. When people feel you truly get them, they want to collaborate, follow, and support you naturally. Used ethically, the psychological mirror isn't a manipulation tactic, it's an empathy tactic. It's about genuinely seeking to understand and help people meet their own needs. When you practice it to serve others, it stops being a trick and becomes the foundation of deep, lasting relationships. 6. Navigating the gray. Now we come to one of the most challenging and misunderstood traits of strategic intelligence: moral ambiguity. This does not mean being without principles. It does not mean harming people or discarding your values. It means understanding that life is rarely black and white. Real power exists in the gray, where circumstances are messy, trade-offs are unavoidable, and simple rules don't always work. Machiavelli famously wrote that when forced to choose, it is safer to be feared than loved. This line has been quoted endlessly, often without context, to justify cruelty. But its real lesson is about acknowledging the complexity of human behavior. You're not aiming to be feared. You're recognizing that leadership sometimes demands choices that won't make you universally loved. Ambiguous morality means weighing outcomes rather than clinging to appearances. It means realizing that sometimes a decision that feels kind in the short term produces worse consequences later. Sometimes protecting people requires doing something that looks harsh in the moment. Sometimes telling the hard truth is a deeper form of kindness than telling a comforting lie. For example, imagine you're leading a team and discover someone is consistently deceiving clients. The nice action might be to give them yet another chance. But what about your honest employees? What about your customers? What about the organization's long-term integrity? Pragmatic ethics might demand letting that person go. It's not cruelty, it's protection of the greater whole. Or picture a friend asking for your advice about a toxic relationship. The easy route is to nod, smile, and offer vague support. But a strategically ethical person might risk hurting their feelings in the moment by saying what they need to hear. This relationship is harming you. True morality sometimes requires discomfort. This mindset also means accepting responsibility for outcomes rather than focusing on optics. Instead of asking, "Does this make me look like a good person?" you ask, "Does this create the best result for the most people, consistent with my core values?" That's a higher, harder standard. But moral ambiguity is not license for selfishness. You're not bending rules purely to benefit yourself at others' expense. You're making tough calls that serve a bigger good, even when they cost you personally. It's about adapting your response to context. The same action might be unethical in one situation, but necessary in another. For example, total honesty might be crucial in an intimate relationship, but counterproductive in a sensitive negotiation where timing and phrasing matter. The danger here is obvious. Without boundaries, moral ambiguity can slip into justification for anything. That's why you must establish your own non-negotiable lines you will never cross, principles you will never betray. Within those boundaries, give yourself permission to be strategic, even when others don't understand your decisions. Your goal is not to be universally liked, but to be effective and ethical in a complicated world. 7. The power of selective revelation. Finally, let's look at controlled exposure, the art of revealing just enough about yourself to create curiosity and trust, while keeping the rest in reserve. In an age when people broadcast their entire lives online, this principle is more potent than ever. When everyone is oversharing, the person who shares strategically becomes magnetic. Machiavelli observed that people are easily swayed by their immediate needs and impressions, which makes them vulnerable to those who understand appearances. Controlled exposure uses this human tendency ethically not to deceive, but to maintain agency over your own story. Humans are wired for curiosity. When we see a puzzle with missing pieces, our brains itch to fill the gaps. This is known as the curiosity gap, and it's one of the strongest psychological forces in attention and influence. By revealing information selectively, you create curiosity gaps that draw people closer, make them listen more carefully, and invest more deeply. Think of the most fascinating people you've encountered. They rarely tell you everything up front. They share just enough to spark your imagination and keep you engaged, leaving you with questions rather than boredom. This isn't accidental, it's deliberate. In professional life, controlled exposure means being intentional about which ideas you reveal and when. You don't show every skill in your first week on the job. You let your capabilities emerge gradually, so people perceive you as continuously adding new value rather than peaking too soon. In negotiations, it means not disclosing all your constraints or priorities immediately. You hold some information in reserve to use strategically at the right moment. In social settings, it means revealing your personal story gradually, in proportion to the trust you've built. You're not hiding who you are. You're pacing the relationship so it has room to grow. The key principle is simple. Once something is disclosed, it can't be undisclosed. Information, once given, is permanent. That's why it's better to err on the side of revealing too little rather than too much. Timing matters as much as content. The same fact can have very different effects depending on when it's shared. A skill mentioned too early may seem like bragging. Mentioned at the right moment, it looks like generosity or expertise. Controlled exposure also means tailoring your disclosures to your audience. Your best friend should know more about you than a new colleague. Your business partner should know different details than your competitor. This isn't deception, it's appropriateness. By mastering selective revelation, you're not building walls, you're building layers. You're allowing people to earn access to deeper parts of who you are, while protecting your ability to act strategically and maintain influence. In a world that rewards oversharing with fleeting attention, mystery rewards you with lasting respect. Silent power, psychological mirroring, navigating the gray, and controlled exposure. These are not tricks, they're disciplines. Practiced together, they form a mindset where you're no longer just reacting to life, but shaping it. You're not the loudest person in the room, but the one whose presence quietly shifts everything. Write this again as your own affirmation. I choose to guide, not manipulate. I choose to be strategic, not reactive. That's the foundation of the next level of influence. Managing what you reveal to the world, especially online, is no longer optional. It's essential. Every tweet you post, every comment you write, and every photo you upload creates a digital fingerprint that can last for years. Long before someone meets you in person, they're often forming opinions based on this trail of information. Those who understand influence know that their online presence is not random, but part of an intentional plan. They recognize that every detail they release shapes their reputation, relationships, and opportunities. Controlled exposure is not about hiding from the world or being mysterious for the sake of mystery. It's about taking charge of your story and directing how others experience you. When you decide what to reveal, when to reveal it, and to whom, you're no longer at the mercy of other people's assumptions. You're shaping your narrative rather than being shaped by it. This gives you the power to highlight your most relevant qualities for your current goals while keeping certain aspects private until the right moment. In doing so, you avoid being boxed into stereotypes or defined by incomplete snapshots of who you are. In a culture where oversharing is the norm, being deliberate about your personal information is no longer outdated. It's a competitive advantage. The challenge is to find the right balance. Reveal enough to form real connections, but not so much that you lose your strategic edge. Highly effective people are masters at this. They're warm, authentic, and approachable. Yet, they also understand that not every detail of their life needs to be public knowledge. They practice openness with discernment, creating a sense of trust while still protecting their leverage. This selective transparency allows them to build stronger relationships without giving away all their power. Your digital persona should reflect this same balance. Being intentional online means thinking about how each post or interaction adds to the bigger picture of who you are. Does it support the image and values you want to be known for? Does it align with your long-term goals? Strategic sharing also prevents you from being pigeonholed into one version of yourself. By controlling what you reveal, you can shift focus when your priorities or projects change without appearing inconsistent or disjointed. Another key principle is timing. The moment you reveal a piece of information can be as important as the information itself. The same fact shared too early might seem like bragging or oversharing, while the same fact shared at a later stage, when it's relevant to solving a problem, can position you as helpful and capable. This is where controlled exposure becomes less about secrecy and more about strategy. You're not withholding to manipulate, but to ensure your message lands with maximum impact. Outcome obsession takes this even further. It's the mindset of focusing not on appearances, arguments, or ego, but on results. Too many people waste energy trying to look good, prove they're right, or defend their process, rather than concentrating on what actually works. True professionals don't fall into that trap. They constantly ask themselves, what result am I trying to create? And what action will best get me there? This mental shift transforms how you approach every interaction, project, and decision. Take disagreements as an example. Most people treat arguments like a debate to be won. They want to corner the other person, show off their superior knowledge, or prove a point. But someone who's focused on outcomes thinks differently. What do I want to achieve from this conversation? Maybe it's changing someone's behavior, reaching a compromise, or understanding their perspective. Once the goal is clear, the strategy follows. Often, the best approach isn't proving someone wrong, but guiding them to discover the conclusion themselves. This preserves relationships, lowers resistance, and gets you closer to your real objective. This mindset applies across every area of life. At work, outcome-focused individuals choose projects based on impact rather than visibility. They make decisions rooted in data and results rather than politics or preference. In personal relationships, they prioritize the health and happiness of the connection over being right in every disagreement. In personal growth, they measure progress by actual improvement rather than effort or intention. It's not about how hard you work, it's about what your work produces. Outcome obsession also helps you break free from the illusion of productivity. Many people confuse being busy with being effective. They fill their days with low-value tasks because it feels safer than tackling the challenging, high-impact work that really matters. Those who are truly outcome-focused practice what could be called strategic laziness. They're not interested in being the hardest worker in the room. They're interested in being the most effective, concentrating on the 20% of actions that produce 80% of the results. This same principle applies to learning. Instead of trying to master everything, they zero in on the few skills that will make the biggest difference. But there's an important caution. Outcome obsession without values is dangerous. If you sacrifice your ethics or relationships just to reach a goal, you've lost more than you've gained. The most powerful form of outcome obsession includes integrity and respect for others as part of the desired outcome. Your definition of success should already account for doing what's right, treating people fairly, and creating positive impact. Within that framework, being relentlessly results-driven becomes a force for good. Another hallmark of outcome-focused people is flexibility. They're loyal to their goals, not their methods. If a plan stops working, they don't cling to it out of pride. They adapt, they pivot, they try new approaches until something works. This makes them resilient in the face of change and quick to seize new opportunities. Over time, this reputation for delivering results, not excuses, attracts better partners, bigger opportunities, and more meaningful challenges. The combination of controlled exposure and outcome obsession gives you a distinct advantage in today's world. You're not just managing how people see you, you're aligning your presence, your actions, and your energy with the results you want to achieve. This isn't about manipulation, it's about self-mastery, having power over your narrative, your focus, and ultimately, your outcomes. True strategic intelligence is not about exploiting others, it's about understanding human nature deeply enough to protect yourself from manipulation and to create better results for everyone involved. It's about being intentional with your influence, your energy, and your ethics. When you practice these traits, you become someone who not only avoids being played, but also inspires trust, respect, and opportunity. The kind of person people naturally want to work with and follow.